Morning, everyone. Thank you so much for coming out this morning and facilitating this. I appreciate it.
Good morning, Dan.
Sally and Anna will be joining in just a moment.
Okay, and we'll be starting exactly at 9:55.
Perfect.
Good morning, everyone. Once again, I would just like to announce we will be beginning at 10 a.m. in exactly 5 minutes. Good morning, everyone. Once again, good morning to the students, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Fatima, and I am the Marketing and Business Development Executive at Curtin University, Dubai. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome you all to the finale of DEWA Business Cup Challenge 2021, the University Edition, presented by Curtin University, Dubai, and proudly sponsored by the Dubai Electricity and Water Authority and Transnational Academic Group. We would now request everyone to please remain silent for the UAE and the Australian national anthems. The last year and a half has been challenging time. Despite the challenges around COVID protocols and online learning, you have made it here today with your mentors to compete for the coveted DEWA Business Cup Challenge 2021 University Trophy. Well done, everyone. We would like to begin today by thanking our sponsors, the Dubai Electricity and Water Authority and Transnational Academic Group, without both of whom the competition would not be possible. We would now like to introduce our panel of judges for today's competition. We have with us Associate Professor Anna Tarabas, who is the Dean of Teaching and Learning and Head of School of Business and Humanities at Curtin Dubai. She's a digital marketing and e-commerce specialist with over 16 years of experience, out of which 14 in academia in Poland, France, Kazakhstan, United Arab Emirates, Singapore, and Australia. She has been working previously in banking, automotive, and cosmetic industry. She serves as an independent marketing and e-commerce consultant and keynote speaker. Her research areas are around digital marketing, social media, e-commerce, IoT, and cybersecurity. We also welcome Mr. Saleh Ismail, who is the program coordinator for the School of IT at Curtin Dubai. His research interests include cybersecurity, the Internet of Things, cloud computing, and the semantic web. Prior to academia, he worked in the industry in various posts like the IT manager, technology officer, and database administrator. He has also sat on many advisory boards for tech startups and has received various awards showcasing the excellence in cybersecurity, including the prestigious Dubai Electronic Cybersecurity Innovation Award. Welcome, Mr. Saleh. And leading the panel today is Mr. Daniel Atkins. He is the Chief Executive Officer of Transnational Academic Group Middle East. And Dan began his career working in the information technology industry. And during his 20 years in the IT, he has performed IT services for companies including IBM, Dell, Clorox, Philips, Hershey's, Coca-Cola, and Visa. For the past 14 years, Dan has been an academic and leader in various universities. We welcome all the judges, but now I would like to hand it over to Mr. Daniel Atkins to formally introduce and begin our competition for today.
Thank you so much, Fatima. I really appreciate that. And thank you to all of the judges and members of our team who are here facilitating. And most of all, thank you to all of the university students who have joined us here today in the competition. The Business Cup Challenge started many years ago as an effort to provide secondary school students an opportunity to face real business challenges, come up with creative solutions, and then get feedback from professionals, a level of feedback that they normally would not get in the secondary school environment. And the Business Cup Challenge, now sponsored by DEWA, over the many years has continued to grow. This year, we had almost 1,000 students involved, both from secondary school and university. And this was the first year that we opened the opportunity up to universities. And we greatly appreciate all of you joining in and trying to come up with the best solution for a case related to DEWA. So as we go through today, we will have each team present for 10 minutes. And during that time, the panel of judges will follow very much the same criteria that was followed when we marked your first case submission. So we'll be judging the creativity of the idea, how well it's related to the challenge of the case, how feasible is it, is there a way for it to make or save money? Do you present a good financial plan, including a break-even point? And did you address all of the areas of a pestle analysis? You will have the opportunity to present in essentially any way that you would like to. We will not be doing a Q&A period at the end, so what you present is what you'll be judged on. So with that, I will turn it back to Ms. Fatima.
Thank you, Mr. Atkins, for that introduction. With this, we will get started. For the final case study, just a brief again, you were presented with a situation where the DEWA board has hired you and your team to develop an IoT solution to maximize the production of solar power and desalinized water produced by the DEWA facilities. We will now upgrade the first team. So can we have the team Leopards from American University Sharjah to present your pitch? And we have Ms. Batul, who can start sharing her screen. We would just, Batul, before you start, we would just request all the team members to accept the panelist request. So you will be upgraded to the panelist. So you all will be able to speak and switch on your video. Please accept. Thank you.
Can I start, please?
Yes, the timer will be running parallelly. So once you start, we will start our timer on the side. And you will hear a ring when the 10 minutes is over. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are gathered today to discuss methods that could aid in maximizing the production of solar energy and fresh water from desalination plants. Our gathering is extremely significant, seeing that over the past 50 years, as the UAE has grown, its freshwater supplies have severely depleted. Additionally, using solar heat to generate electricity is vital to decrease its emission and lower the cost of providing energy to generate electricity from different kinds of plants. Furthermore, although the UAE is not affected by overpopulation currently, it is important to consider what might happen if this problem begins to arise. According to the World Population Review, the city of Dubai's population is projected to increase by 600,000 in the next 8 years. And with the water usage as high as it is today, trying to provide clean water for an overpopulated area will be almost impossible. Also, Dubai has no natural body of water to rely on. Thus, an environmentally sound, cost-effective method that can provide enough water to meet the demand needs to be found. Along with that, energy demands must also be met. As a result, it is crucial to find solutions today that could aid in solving this issue and hopefully bring it to a halt.
As you can tell, the issues with meeting the demand for water is very serious. And you guys must be wondering if there's a solution to this problem. Well, we're here to reassure you that there is one, and we'll break it down for you. We have managed to come up with a new revolutionary IoT technology that aims to produce desalinated water in a cheaper, more environmental friendly, effective, and efficient way. Our idea is to build a solar dome to carry out the functions of a traditional water treatment facility but better. The decentralized solution uses basic concepts like reflection, evaporation, and condensation to treat seawater. The seawater will be transported inland via aqueducts topped with glass that, under sunlight, would warm the water. This would then feed into the dome, where it would be superheated as a result of using concentrated solar power. With more than 100 solar reflectors around the structure, directing the sun's energy onto the frame. After the salt water evaporates, it condenses as fresh water as it is piped to the reservoirs.
The diagram here represents one of our domes. However, we will have a main dome, but also mini domes placed at strategic locations. The locations of the mini domes will be spread out throughout the UAE to help provide water to various locations. This will help decentralize the desalination process, which provides a slew of benefits like being able to speed up the process of water desalination and meet the demand of water supply in all regions. One solar dome produces 30,000 cubic meters per hour. Two solar domes would be 60,000 cubic meters, and with three solar domes, that would be 90,000 cubic meters per hour. Additionally, the production of multiple domes won't be too difficult, as they use simple materials like glass and steel, which aren't too difficult to produce. Furthermore, each dome will be fitted with actuators and sensors used to measure and monitor the main variables involved in the desalination process. These include temperature, flow rate, and pressure. And with the help of those sensors and actuators, the data recorded regarding each dome will be stored on the cloud, forming a smart grid framework, which will be explained in more detail in the next slide.
Seeing that each dome will be equipped with actuators and sensors, the IoT technology will develop a smart grid framework by unifying the information of the sensors and actuators of each of the solar domes. Therefore, all of the information will be stored in the cloud. This will be possible due to the use of advanced control strategies like the model predictive control, or otherwise known as the MPC. The domes will always be satisfying a preset set of constraints that will be configured to ensure maximum possible efficiency all of the time. This will then develop efficient methods to manage the combination of the main solar dome and the smaller solar domes known as the mini domes, and they will be spread out throughout different regions in the UAE. Also, if any malfunction arises, it will be quickly sensed and signaled. Therefore, a maintenance team will be available to respond promptly and make sure that any issues are fixed to ensure the effectiveness of water production in each dome.
Giving the dome's IoT capabilities will come with huge advantages. Decentralizing this desalination process and closely monitoring it will bring with it the ability to adjust the production to demand almost instantaneously. The IoT technology allows us to obtain interoperability between different facilities, regardless of their geographical location, as it is able to read from all the subsystems and analyze all the data in the cloud and set corresponding control actions to the actuators of the facilities. In addition, one of the main advantages of the IoT technology is that it establishes interconnection between the devices to the cloud platform. This is due to the fact that each dome is constantly transmitting data across the internet, which will access the production of fresh water and ensure that each dome is working effectively. Furthermore, the excess water will be stored for future use, and all the domes will be connected to public water utility system to distribute the water to various locations. Due to the multiple locations of the domes, water transportation costs will decrease massively, as well as the fossil fuels used to transport that water and treat it, all while using solar energy to desalinate the water in the first place. Also, having all the data being stored on the cloud revolutionizes the monitoring and controlling aspects of production, which will make the process much more efficient and much more productive.
Moving on to the topic of maximizing the production of solar energy. It is important to note that a major issue in solar panels is dust accumulation. And seeing that the solar panel fields in the UAE are based in the desert, this issue is even more significant. It has been proven that dust reduces the efficiency of solar panels by over 35%. This was a study done by Drew Schindel, professor of climate sciences at Duke. To combat this issue, we will use an automated vacuum, which is equipped with piezoelectric sensors to detect the presence of excessive dirt and debris on the surface of the panels. When enough tiny particles impact the sensor, electrical impulses trigger a built-in program, prompting the device to go over an area or even make a second pass of the same area for a more thorough cleaning. The materials used for this cleaning will not cause any sort of scratches or damage to the solar panel, so the efficiency of the panel will not decrease. In fact, using the vacuum will enhance the overall performance of the panel, and hence it will further increase the energy supply. As a result of the increase in energy supply, there will be extra energy that will eventually accumulate in the solar powered grid. This extra energy in the grid can be diverted for usage in factories or even could be used for operating skyscrapers.
Solar energy production and freshwater production are vital processes for life, supporting ecosystems and human civilizations. By using the proposed solar dome idea to maximize the production of fresh water and using the proposed automated surface cleaner idea to remove dust particles that accumulate on the surface of solar panels, the productivity of both processes will increase greatly. Implementing these suggestions would surely revolutionize the industry and the way the citizens of the UAE get their water and electricity, all the while the processes are cost-effective and environmentally friendly. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Team Leopards. We will now request the next team to be promoted. The next team is Team Mind Bloggers. The next team is Mind Bloggers from Manipal Academy of Higher Education, Dubai. They have sent in the video recorded pitch, so may I please request it to be played.
Production in the UAE. First, I will cover the topic on solar power production, and then Muhammad Zain will join us. Coming to the big question, how will we increase solar power production? Public transport in the UAE is a very important sector, and there are various means of public transport and a huge number of vehicles run. Public transport in the UAE runs throughout the day and is exposed to sunlight for long hours. We think that this is an opportunity to exploit by adding solar panels on RTA cabs and buses. The reason we haven't included other means such as metros is because we do not think that they are exposed to sunlight as much as cabs and buses, and it would not give the returns expected due to the high level of investment needed in this solution. Now comes the other big question. How will this plan work? We do not plan on equipping all cabs and buses with solar panels as soon as we launch this project. Rather, install it on cabs and buses traveling through a variety of routes initially and see which routes provide the most solar energy. The reason for doing this is to make sure that we can maximize attaining solar energy in the initial stages of the launch. To measure how much solar energy is being stored, we will use our IoT device, which combines the components of solar power meters, which will be attached to batteries. And this data will be sent to the RTA Bus Performing Monitoring Center and the Dubai Taxi Corporation through Bluetooth. As the headquarters are already equipped with technology to communicate with the drivers of the taxis and buses, this process will be very easy. We do understand that in the short term, it will be an expensive process installing solar panels on all cabs and buses, but we do think that there is a long-term return and potential in this solution. The RTA will also be able to easily switch from fuel-powered cars to electric cars in the future by using the same solar cells and batteries installed on these cabs and buses. Coming to the design of the taxis, they will be positioned in the same way as the famous solar-powered car, the Lightyear One. Solar cells will be installed on the bonnet of the car, the roof, and the rear windshield. Installing solar cells on the door or any other part of the car we think will be ineffective. And then coming to the design of the buses, solar panels will solely be installed on the roofs of the buses, as placing them anywhere else on the windows or anywhere else in the bus would seem ineffective too. Just to touch on how the energy transfer will work, the solar cells placed on the taxis and buses will transfer the energy to the batteries, which will be placed in the trunk of the car and the bus. During the weekend, these batteries will be taken out from the vehicles and will be transferred to megawatt-hour scale battery banks, which will then transfer the energy to wherever required through power lines. These batteries will be able to store 20 kilowatt hours of energy, and the taxis will be equipped with one battery while the buses will be equipped with two batteries. And finally, coming to the estimated generation of solar power by these vehicles. The taxis will be equipped with solar panels of 5 square meters, according to Hanergy, which is a Chinese multinational company producing solar panels for cars. A car running in daylight for about 5 to 6 hours can produce at least 1.6 kilowatt hours of energy. Therefore, per working week, a taxi should be able to store at least 8 kilowatt hours of energy. The reason we have mentioned per working week is because, as mentioned before, the vehicles will be given a 5-day period to store the energy, and during the weekend, energy transfer will begin to wherever needed. The buses will be equipped with solar panels of 15 square meters due to the vast areas on the buses. These panels are also estimated to generate at least 4.8 kilowatt hours of energy per day. Therefore, per working week, a bus should be able to store at least 24 kilowatt hours of energy. As there are 1,500 buses in Dubai, a total of 36,000 kilowatt hours of energy should be generated per week. Hence, the total energy generated by the taxis and buses per working week should be approximately 77,600, which is equal to 310,400 per month. To put this into context, the energy which we will generate through this method is equal to providing electricity for 923 homes in Dubai. That is it from me, and now Mohammed Zain will join us to talk about desalination. Thank you.
A very good morning, respected judges, teachers, fellow competitors, and everyone else present here. It is such a great pleasure for us to share some of our ideas that we have come up with to increase the production of desalination plants in Dubai. But before going to those methods and ideas, what is desalination? It is the removal of salt and impurities from seawater to produce fresh water. And the process which is used in these desalination plants is something called as the reverse osmosis process, where the seawater is pumped into the desalination plant from the ocean and passes through these pre-treatment filtration to remove most of the large and small particles. So basically, we've come up with three different ideas or three different methods. But before going to these methods not just increases the production, but also it is eco-friendly and it is quite sustainable. So the first thing is we've come up with an IoT device for more affordable and efficient desalination process. So here we will use an IoT device that splits components of brine through a method called electrochemical water salt splitting. The water salt splitting separates the brine into positively charged sodium and negatively charged chlorine ions with the use of an electrochemical cell, which is a device that employs electrical energy to kickstart chemical reactions. So here, once the bonds are broken, a sodium and chlorine combine with other elements to form new chemicals, including sodium, hydroxide, hydrogen, and hydrochloric acid. So doing a little bit of research on this, we could identify that this process not just reduced the cost, but it also outperformed the conventional water splitting method. And number two, it can improve the desalination design to save operating costs while generating revenue. And the new approach could also help cut brine disposal costs. But what surprised us the most during the research is up to a third of total desalination expenses relate to the brine disposal cost. So using this new approach, using this new method, we could help cut brine disposal costs, and we can also avoid damaging environmental impacts, because the current brine disposal methods can cause salinity and acidity spikes, along with the oxygen deficient conditions in waterways that kill or drive off the animal plant species. The second method, the second idea that we've come up with, we could also build desalination and a purification technology that can rapidly be deployed in coastal regions of Dubai. So we can build a solar water farms, which can operate 24 hours a day, utilizing battery storage technology, and are housed in 20-foot shipping containers, which are capable of transforming as much as 70,000 liters of brackish or salt water into clean, healthy drinking water every day. The third fact is we could understand that the DEWA right now, the DEWA desalination plants uses something called as the nanofiltration membranes. So what we've understood through the research, there's something called as a graphene oxide, which actually have drawn a great attention due to the striking, dramatic separation performances, which are much, much higher than the traditional membranes. So in this particular process, we could use the advanced membranes, which are based on the 2D material of graphene oxide instead of nanofiltration, to increase the production. So these are the three methods, the three ideas that we have come up with, which I think the DEWA must implement to increase their production of desalination plants.
One of the special factors, political, helps save scarce resources and it improves UAE's global image and meets Paris Accord. Legal, the only legal challenges in securing offshore developing sites. Environmental, the IoT device can avoid damaging environmental impact as the current brine disposal methods can cause salinity and acidity spikes, along with oxygen deficient conditions in waterways that kill or drive off animal and plant species. Social, improved living conditions of people, and a more sustainable growth as eco-friendly products are used. The energy received from solar panels can be used at any needs. Technological, it improves efficiency and outperforms conventional water splitting methods. This method can also improve desalination design to save operating costs while generating revenue. Developing solar power meters on the batteries of vehicles is the only technological improvement when it comes to solar power production. And lastly, economical is much cheaper. It is much cheaper than the traditional water splitting device, and it is quite efficient. However, the solar panels would be costly. To conclude, we strongly believe that solar panels on cars and buses, the electrochemical water splitting method, coastal solar water farms, and graphene membranes are the best methods forward to increase solar power and desalination production in the UAE. On behalf of the entire team, thank you to Curtin University for providing with this opportunity, and we are looking forward to the other team's presentations. Thank you.
That was well in time. Thank you, team Mind Bloggers. Our next team is Blue Leopards from American University of Sharjah. And Ms. Sana, you may share your screen and begin your pitch.
A very good morning to everyone present here. We are the Blue Leopards, and we are very excited to present our case. Firstly, I would like to introduce my remarkable team, Suhani Gehlot, Drashti Dhruve, Sana Velapal, and myself, Ankita Rejit. We are from American University of Sharjah. Before we present our final case, I want everybody to know that this is part of a bigger picture of making Dubai a sustainable city. It is not just about lowering costs, it's also about being environmentally responsible. Every resident in Dubai is a customer of DEWA. It is our responsibility to satisfy the customers and ensure that there is enough supply of water to meet their demands. The main issue surrounding water and electricity consumption today is the increasing population and the size of economic activities, which increase the demand for water. We don't have much groundwater in the UAE, and more than 95% of drinking water comes from desalinated water resources. DEWA has set up desalination plants capable of producing 490 million imperial gallons per day. And the process of desalination requires a lot of energy, and the plants are also very expensive to maintain. Energy is reported to be the largest single expense for desalination plants. Besides that, the water desalination can have serious implications on the environment since the process can generate toxic waste such as concentrated brine, which is harmful to the aquatic life. The massive amounts of energy used in desalination contribute to climate change causing greenhouse gas emissions. And we have to deal with wastewater as well. A more sustainable alternative that must be considered is thermal desalination. It can be achieved through solar technologies, which are capable of producing large amounts of heat, which can be utilized in evaporating the saline water. Our solution is to install solar-powered sensors in the plant that can give information about the water levels, heat, and salinity. This information is then transferred to a cloud computing platform that can observe, analyze, and compare data. The solution is based on narrowband IoT LPWAN technology. And we have sensors that have photovoltaic cells and AI to monitor the different levels. Now, this removes the requirement of installing mechanical components that are expensive. This makes it cost efficient, which will help in reducing the water and electricity charges of the consumers, which make them happy, which is also a goal of the Dubai government. And the proposed solution is also environment friendly as renewable energy is being utilized. Now, the purified water, the sensors that detect the contaminated water will give an alert, which will redirect the valves to be shut off. And this will initiate the cleaning process, which would be repeated until higher output is achieved. And the brine that we're left with can be used as raw materials in different industries, such as chemical industry, fertilizer industry, or can be even used in agricultural business markets. Now I'll hand over the presentation to Suhani and Drashti.
In the pastel analysis, looking at the political factors that our solution affects, the UAE's commitment to the Paris Agreement with the target of reducing emissions by 25% before 2030 means that establishing the Internet of Things framework and cloud network with our solution, which will increase the longevity of the solar farm and also make solar energy production is in the UAE more reliable and a more effective substitute for electricity originating that can eventually substitute electricity originating from fossil fuels. And the cost reducing measures that are enabled by our Internet of Things solution would mean that increasing the general level of happiness within the public will also be possible with our solution, which is one of the many priorities in the 2030 Dubai vision. Now, moving on to the economic factors. DEWA's recent public listing and the increased productivity and efficiency that will be created by our solution means that there will be an increase in confidence in the stock market towards DEWA, and possible equity capital will be received from stockholders. This equity capital could be used to offset the initial startup costs of putting in our sensors in the desalination plant, and it would also be used to further develop any other sustainable solutions that the DEWA departments are trying to adapt for Dubai's energy demands. In social factors, Dubai's demographic is mostly filled with smart and ethically conscious consumers, which have allowed brands such as Tom's to stay popular and recycling initiatives to rise between all types of firms, from merchandisers to service providers. This would mean that our solution would receive great support from the public, as our solution supports the sustainability ideals that the public agrees with, and they will support our solution even if it might mean temporary rises in price.
Technological analysis. Our solution is a step forward to Dubai's goal of becoming a more smart and sustainable city. High levels of efficiency can be achieved if renewable sources like solar energy can be tapped for desalination of water. As mentioned before, this entire process will be cost efficient. In our environmental analysis, we've recorded that since solar energy is renewable, there'll be a positive impact on the environment as a whole. The use of solar energy has still not been explored to its full capacity, and therefore this may be our first step to do so. Legal analysis. DEWA is a part of the Dubai government, which means that the government is responsible for all the actions that are taken by DEWA. This solution will help in achieving the government's objective of sustainability and efficiency in resources.
Now let's look at the financial aspects. Presently, DEWA estimates an average of 20,000 kilowatt hours per person annually and 130 gallons of water consumption a year. And DEWA charges a standard rate of 20 fills per unit for electricity, 3 fills per unit for water, and 0.5 fills per unit for sewerage. Although the initial cost of setting up these solar sensors may be high, in the long run, it will prove to be economical. Moreover, it will help reduce electricity transmission costs and ensure enough water for the population. This will help achieve DEWA's goals of increasing the operational efficiency in decoupling desalination from electricity production, which will save around 13 billion dirhams and reduce 43 million tons of carbon emissions. So in no time, Dubai will be the region's leader for efficient water and electricity infrastructure and will give strong competition to developed cities worldwide. Thank you for listening to us today, and we really can't wait to hear what others think about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Team Blue Leopards. As we'll be moving forward, our next team is the Global Assets from Manipal Academy of Higher Education, Dubai. We may request the participant who's going to share the screen. They can do so now. Thank you.
Hello. Hello, good morning, everyone. We're the team Global Assets and we're from Mahi Academy of Higher Education. Next slide. These are our team members and so we're going to talk about solar power today. Solar power is a good alternative to fossil fuels. It is a clean and carbon-free source of energy. With increased concerns about the detrimental environmental effects of fossil fuels, governments should definitely start to seriously consider using sustainable alternatives of renewable energy sources. The good thing about solar panels is that they do not produce air pollutants or carbon monoxide, and thus they will help us in reducing the overall carbon footprint by reducing carbon emissions. Next. These are our solutions for maximizing the production of solar power. We would install solar panels on the Etihad rail. The Etihad rail has become functional with the rail traveling from Abu Dhabi to Saudi Arabia. Now Etihad's rail does not go underground. It is only above the surface of ground. So it will be able to collect solar power. Use the car parking solar power system. As you can see in the image over here, we would install solar panels above car parking areas, which would help us to maximize the space. We would have solar panels installed on all street lights, tiny little solar panels that could be compatible with the street lights. We would install them above them. We would use electronic ink signs, which use the same technology as e-readers and are quite popular in Australia, actually. They're solar powered and they are energy efficient since they use zero energy when static. So bouncing off of this, we could also use the solar roadway. The premise of solar roadway, although never used before, is specifically engineered solar panels that can be walked, driven on, or even driven on along with LED lights to help produce road lines and signage without the help of electricity. We could have solar panels installed on all government buildings and vehicles. Now, this is where the integration of IoT devices comes in. So what we would do is we would have all these solar panels connected to a centralized system. So we would record the amount of solar energy being collected by each and every panel at these specific destinations that are scattered all around the country. And the information would go, we would like cloud compute the information and we would statistically record every bit of solar energy that's being collected. And then we would also see which project of the government or which plant it is that uses the most amount of electricity, and depending upon the highest use of electricity, we would essentially use the solar power. We would allocate the solar power towards whichever project it is that uses the maximum amount of electricity. This helps us to save costs and also reduce our dependence on fossil fuels. Next. Okay, so in this graph, you can see that the overall solar power capacity has grown more than 10 times from over 2009 to 2050 and more than 100 times over 2002 to 2015. Next. These are our solutions to help maximize desalinized water produced by DEWA facilities. So the first thing is that solar power panels can be installed in all desalinization plants. The solar energy derived from the panels, like I said before, can be used to fuel the desalinization machinery since they use an extreme amount of electricity. This would help in decreasing fossil fuel dependence and would help save on the electricity consumed. The problem with desalinized plants as of now is, like I said, they have an increased fossil fuel dependence and they also emit a lot of greenhouse gases. Not only is this the problem with desalinized plants is that they are a threat to marine life. Sea life can get sucked into desalinization plants, killing small ocean creatures like baby fish and plankton. So we would not want this since UAE is a country that is focused on environmental protection. So what we can do is we save on the electricity that's used for the desalinization plants, and we use this budget, we use this money saved, and we put this towards marine life conservation. So the next point is using solar energy can also help in increasing productivity, since using sustainable energy like solar power can produce more than 1.5 gallons per hour for each square meter of solar collecting area. I would like Janvi to speak now.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Janvi. So I will continue what Vanya had just ended on. So earlier what used to happen is, and even now, people used to desalinize the water using harmful chemicals such as chlorine and copper. But using solar panels now, it would be a simple water treatment method using simple solar radiation that would cause the variations in the temperature of the water, destroying any sort of pathogenic bacteria, viruses, and protozoa.
Next. This is the SWOT analysis that we have conducted. So the strengths of our proposed idea is that it saves money, it has an increased productivity, and it reduces the dependence on fossil fuels. However, the weaknesses are that it takes a long time to install said solar panels, and the initial cost while switching to solar power can be quite high. The threats that we face are that it requires compliance from various departments. Like I said, we need to have the government buildings involved, we need to have the parking lots involved, and it's a whole lot of things. And also there is a long period of time for implementation, since the cost saving of solar power energy comes only in later dates. The opportunities are the increased environmental benefits. We can reduce our dependence on fossil fuels, and just a whole bunch of environmental benefits that come with using sustainable and renewable sources of energy. And then the money used in electricity expenditure can be allocated to various other ventures. And I would like to take this time to talk about our financial analysis. So the financial analysis is basically, we would definitely need a lot of money to install the said solar panels. However, that is just an initial cost. It's a cost that you have to think about only at the time. However, the benefits are for the long term. We can use the money that has always been put towards electricity. We can use that money and we can take it and put it towards so many other projects that are of great importance, such as saving marine life. And also we can help develop the environmental protection projects that are already existing in the UAE. Thank you.
Thank you, team Global Assets, and everyone who have presented till now. We will now take a short health break, which is about 5 minutes long, and we will resume the session by 10:52. All right, thank you. Welcome back, everyone. We will now proceed with the next round of presentations. Can we please have Rebecca Violet Sanctis from Manipal Academy of Higher Education to begin your pitch, please? Team Rebecca, are you all ready to present? The participant who has the presentation, they can share their screen and you all can start the presentation. Rebecca, I'm not sure, am I audible to you? Because we could not see your screen. We can just see a message that the screen sharing has started, but I believe the judges or myself cannot see your presentation. Yeah, Rebecca, you can try to reshare again. So probably that might just work. Okay, Rebecca, I would just advise we can take your team to come up, after two teams. So we can have somebody else present now, and probably we can check with the IT, and you can send us the presentation, and probably we can, present it from our end. Hope that will work. So we have Russell. Just a second. Give me a second. We have Russell Barbosa from Middlesex University, Dubai. And Russell, you can please start your pitch.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. Today we'll be talking about desalination and solar energy and the best way to optimize production of these two processes. Before we begin at our solution, we will first talk about how desalination works in particular. Desalination is conducted by the seawater reverse osmosis process, and we will focus on the areas that we want to improve. In the RO system, there is a membrane that moves from a concentrated to a dilute solution, which is why we get fresh water as a byproduct of the desalination solution. However, 60% of the seawater that enters in the desalination process comes out as brine. This is a very salty solution and cannot be used for drinking purposes. I will skip this for now, as we all know how solar panels work. The advantages of the process. Obviously, these two processes use renewable energy and they're almost unlimited resources, which is why we are seeing a shift of countries towards using these processes. Now, the disadvantages of this processes is where this solution is trying to address. The disadvantage of the solar energy processes is mainly overheating. If the solar panels overheat too much, it is inefficient, so we are not getting our money's worth. Similarly, in desalination, the membranes, the membranes involved in the desalination process could be fouled. What happens at the process is large particles get trapped on the membrane, thus increasing their efficiency. My solution. Our solution is threefold. First, we will talk about cooling solar panels using IoT. This 60% brine solution that we've used in the desalination process is eventually sent into the sea, and thus it affects the salinity of the sea, affecting marine ecosystems and sea life. Instead, we plan to use this brine to its best efficiency. Under cooling solar panels using IoT, we will place an aluminum jacket under the solar panels, and the brine solution will be passed through under the aluminum jacket, thus cooling the solar panels. How we will integrate IoT in the system is we will place sensors on top of the solar panels, and depending on the heat temperature that we have configured, if it is hotter than it's meant to be, it will send a message to the desalination plant, and the desalination plant will proceed to reroute the brine solution under the solar panel using the aluminum jacket. Also, the efficiency of membrane using IoT. As I mentioned, the membrane can be fouled. That is, large particles could get trapped on the membrane, thus reducing its efficiency. Using IoT sensors, we can assess the water flow and analyze whether the membrane has been fouled or not. This reduces time wasted because of the inefficiency of the membrane. This is where the brunt of my solution lies. This brine solution can finally be used for a salinity gradient power plant. In the salinity gradient power plant, we account for the difference in the salt concentrations of two solutions. In this case, it will be brine and seawater, and we can use that to generate electricity. How this works. As you can see in the diagram, there are two solutions, and salt moves from the dilute solution to the concentrated solution through a membrane. This generates electricity, which can further increase the energy production in the country. At the same time, using a process known as membrane distillation, we can also produce excess fresh water, which means that this process is not only using waste products, but we're also generating more energy and water for the community. The pestle analysis. This process is the salinity gradient power plant is a relatively new process, and it is barely started on a large scale. Therefore, it may be important for the government to talk to companies that sell membranes related to the salinity gradient power plant and achieve good prices for the product. Also, the membranes in the salinity gradient power plant are 3 times more expensive than normal membranes. Next, economic. Obviously, the startup costs of this solution may be large. However, this will, as I will explain later, this will provide a lot of economic return. Social. There has been a shift in people's mindsets about global warming and the negative effects of pollution in the community, which is why this is in line with that. Technological. The IoT system is, we are integrating the IoT system in this process, which is why we are also technologically advancing the two processes. There are also patents. Again, as I said, this project is relatively new, which is why patents will also need to be acquired. Environmental, solar energy and desalination of water are both processes that produce less pollution for the environment, which is why they are good for the environment, which is why this process is necessary. The financial plan. As I said, this process is a relatively new one, so finding specific values was hard. However, we could find that the levelized cost of electricity is 0.21 dirhams per kilowatt hour. This means what is the cost of producing 1 unit of 1 kilowatt per hour by it is basically the total cost divided by the energy produced. So the cost per 1 unit of energy produced. Now, as you can see, DEWA sells electricity at a minimum of 0.23 kilowatt per hour, whereas the levelized cost of electricity under the salinity gradient plant would be 0.21 dirham, 0.21 dirhams per kilowatt hour. So we will thus be making a profit from this process. So overall, the feasibility of the salinity gradient plant is it is good, but however, this has only been adopted on a small scale. So to take it to the next step, DEWA would have to spend money on research and development and various improvements to the process. But however, we are saving a lot of the electricity that has been wasted on the brine, or we are also generating enough electricity to meet the needs of the desalination plant. So we're basically establishing a cycle where the desalination plant will not need any excess electricity. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Russell. We can have our next team, UD. Basically, he's an individual participant. His name is Rubala Wanyan. I'm sorry if I've mispronounced. From University of Dubai. You
Yes,
can begin
please,
your pitch.
First of all, I just want to make sure, can you hear me and see me?
Yes, loud and clear.
I'm going to share my presentation. First of all, good morning, everybody. And I'd like to thank Curtin University for allowing me to come to the grand finales. And I would like to thank Dr. Nasser Al-Murakab for being such a wonderful mentor, and Dr. Issa for being such a wonderful president who has always been there for me and who has always given me the motivation needed for me to be here today. Basically, I have 3 modifications that could be done to existing DEWA infrastructure that would aim to improve the efficiency of the solar panels and therefore improve the efficiency of desalination. Now, let's begin. At first, the current state of affairs of solar power in the UAE. The UAE has the world's largest concentrated solar power plant called Sham-1. This should not be confused with the largest solar power plant in the world, because there are 2 kinds of solar power plants. One is concentrated solar power plants and the other is photovoltaic solar power plants. The Sham-1 plant can power about 20,000 homes and can save 175,000 tons in CO2 emissions. The UAE intends to build the largest solar power plant in the world in Abu Dhabi by the end of 2022. Therefore, this is clear that solar power is of prime importance for UAE's energy generation strategy. The connection between solar energy and desalination. The desalination plants use reverse osmosis to purify water, and therefore they need electricity. This electricity comes from solar plants. The UAE hopes to power its desalination plants with solar power and save in the vicinity of $13 billion during the coming decade. The UAE also hopes to have desalination plants that are completely powered on solar energy. Given this, after extensive research and analysis, the biggest problem faced by solar power in the UAE is dust and sand buildup. Dust and sand buildup can reduce the efficiency of solar panels by up to 40%. And research suggests that in the Arabian Peninsula, there is more than 80% energy loss that is attributed due to dust and sandstorms. It must be noted that the UAE has a very dusty climate. There is a huge cost in cleaning and maintaining solar panels right now. The current approach to cleaning these panels, it is not well coordinated. It is not very proactive. There are some cameras that can monitor the dust, and the steps towards being proactive is taken, but it is not very proactive. The current cleaning methods require staff that need to stand by all the time, and sometimes they are wasted because there is nothing for them to do. Therefore, there is a total lack of inefficiency and productivity in this current approach. The solution that we have has three main components. Two are technological, based on IoT, and one is mostly political and organizational. At first, I will explain the technological solution. There would be IoT sensors and associated water splashers installed in solar panels. These IoT sensors, as suggested by researchers from AUS this year, can increase the productivity of solar panels by up to 50%. These IoT sensors will be connected with data mining and data analytical tools in the UAE and later in all the other GCC nations. I call for a complete integration of the IoT sensors of all the tools DEWA has to maintain its solar power plants. This would make, after a few years, the DEWA will be able to predict which panels, especially what parts of the panels, become dusty during which points in time. Therefore, repair and maintenance can be taken much more proactively than it is being done. The second part of it is adding water splashers. These water splashers are simple, and these water splashers will spray water on the solar panels once there is accumulation of dust. This water will be saved, and this water will be recycled and reused. Therefore, this is another step towards sustainability. The benefits from implementing this IoT solution. This will make the maintenance of solar panels much more proactive than now. This will drastically increase the efficiency of solar panels and reduce the maintenance costs by about 25%. Therefore, the power output can be expected to increase by 30%. The further benefits of the sensors is simple. The maintenance cost will decrease because resources can be allocated more efficiently and in a proactive manner. The second most important thing is that the data gathered from these IoT sensors will be analyzed by our data mining tools, and therefore a pattern could be found of when there is a need for maintenance and repairs. This will enable the proactive cleaning and maintenance of solar panels. The twist. This is organizational and political solution. The IoT sensors can be connected to DEWA drones and to other weather sensing organizations in the GCC. This will show unprecedented integration of proactive maintenance of solar panels. This is our creative twist. This will allow us to have more data from not just the UAE, but also other GCC nations. And the data will be analyzed much more efficiently using the Internet of Things, because Internet of Things can connect the sensors on all kinds of assets, and information could be gathered from it. The complete integration of solar power maintenance and reprise. This would include the integration of cameras and DEWA drones, desalination facilities in the UAE, and later the GCC. This will be a quantum leap in proactive maintenance of solar panels, never before seen in the Middle East. Damage from sandstorms can be reduced because they can be proactively predicted, and steps can be taken to minimize damage to solar panels. The cluster analysis. At first, there needs for major political coordination among GCC nations. Environmentally speaking, there will be a reduced carbon footprint. Socially speaking, the acceptance of solar power as renewable energy will increase because solar power will become more reliable. Technologically speaking, it utilizes IoT sensors, water splashers connected to IoT sensors, data mining, and integrated IoT communications. So all the technology that we're suggesting already exists. It has worked in other countries, and AUS researchers suggest that what we say will work, but it is available, but it has not yet been implemented. So it is very relevant to the IoT theme. Legally speaking, there is no major legal hurdle regarding this solution. Economically speaking, this will increase the efficiency of solar power stations by 40% and increase the lifespan of solar panels, and therefore reduce long-term government expenditure on solar energy. The return on investment. This is very, very important. To give the basics of return on investment, the cost of this integration of our solution will be 34 AED per 6 square meters. Why I chose 34 AED per 6 square meters? Because generally speaking, it takes 6 square meters of solar panels, photovoltaic solar panels, to generate 1 kilowatt hour. This will be used in our calculations later. The increased productivity of solar panels will be more than 40%, and the lifetime of solar panels will be increased by more than 20%. The return on investment, the cost of solar panels per 6 square meters is about 700 AED. There will be an increased lifespan of our solar panels by about 20% because of our technical add-ons. This will amount to a savings of 140 AEDs per 6 square meters. That will account to a total of 85 million AED savings for the entire UAE solar plants. Finally, the increased production of created because of our solution will lead to an increased savings of 2 AED per kilowatt hour, which amounts to about 280,000 AED per day, which will lead to an annual profit of 100 million AED. With this, I would like to conclude my presentation. However, I would like to remind the honorable judges and everyone here that this is a three-pronged solution. First of all, IoT sensors, and then it has water splashes connected to IoT, and we call for an integration of IoT devices all over the DCC, so this information can be analyzed using data mining technology, and we can proactively predict dust and sandstorms. With this note, I want to thank everyone for listening, and also just as further information, we considered other alternatives and other options. However, we found out that our solution is the only solution that supports a centralized and integrated approach that is currently taken by DEWA. Our solution will only need some additions to the current policy of DEWA, and therefore it will not disrupt the activities of DEWA, and the cost-benefit analysis clearly state that our solution is viable. Our solution is economically, politically, socially, organizationally, and socially acceptable. With that, I would conclude my speech, and I thank everyone for listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Team UD. Our next team is for Rebecca, and based on the internet issues, they have sent us the presentation, and our IT team will assist for that. So Rebecca from Team Rebecca Violet from Manipal Academy of Higher Education, Dubai. I hope you all are ready. We will be starting the presentation at our end, and please do let us know when to change the slide. We will be assisting on the same.
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. A very warm good morning to judges, organizing team, mentors, fellow competitors, and everyone present here. We are from Manipal University. Next slide. And our members are Pratik Khanna, Said Salahuddin, Sreya Susan Ebi, myself Mekha Jeffrey David, and Rebecca Violet Santos. I would like to use this opportunity to thank our mentor, Dr. Noor Reswi. Our idea to maximize solar energy and desalination is called sustainable energy production. Next. What is sustainable energy production? It is a way to create a sustainable plant where the salt generated from the desalination process will help in generating more solar power. Some of the excess power produced will be redirected back to the desalination plant, creating a no-waste sustainable energy production. This will help DEWA to be more sustainable since many energy companies are trying to produce clean energy. Next slide. How will IoT fill into this? It will use a combination of smart grid and cloud management. The smart grid technology will allow easier integration and help in higher penetration of renewable energy, while cloud management will help DEWA officials monitor the plant and energy produced from it with ease. Through recycling the salt to generate or produce more solar power, we'll be able to produce 200 kilowatt per hour, which is ample enough to power for a year in the household of UAE. Next slide. So in a way, while every cubic meter of fresh water mixed with seawater generates approximately 200 kilowatt per hour, and we'll be able to produce for a year in the UAE household. It can reduce the need for fossil fuel energy when the sun shines. Molten salt facilities can operate at any time of day and store energy for up to 10 hours. Molten salt facilities are also cheaper. Energy is recovered during both the freshwater and seawater flushes with no upfront energy investment and no need for charging. So this means that the battery is constantly discharging and charging, recharging without needing any input of energy. Let's move on to SWOT analysis. Let's talk about strengths. So we all know the climate of UAE is ideal for solar panels and solar insulation, and UAE has an excellent manufacturing and researching capabilities, which means that our plan is in good hand and can be a success. Talking about our plan, it brings in a sustainable renewable energy, penetration, and sustainable development goals. So we can see the number of strength our plan has, which makes it more convincing and will be strongly supported by government. Every plan has some weakness. First, solar panel require a large amount of space, which means space can be an issue, but not a big one. As we all know, it can be expensive as compared to fuel, but we also know the level of pollution fuel costs is dangerous, which means our plan to avoid fuel can be more of a strength than weakness. Now let's talk about what are the various opportunities or prospects of our plan. The reduce in water cost and possible electricity cost can be a huge success for our plan. As for our statistics, it is seen that in future, smart grid market UAE is expected to have a reasonable growth rate of 2.5% between 2020 and 2025. The level of global warming has been a global issue. Implementing our plan can not only bring in greenhouse crop expansion and slow down the global issues. It is always said every plan has some threats. As our plan is based on the IoT structure, which means it also brings in cybersecurity issues and chances of hacking and various other problems. But we have a developmental plan to solve this problem. This is expensive, but mostly seen are the real-time cost of smart meters, which can be a problem for many industries. The electricity grid is now getting smarter and transforming how power utilities interact with their customers. Smart grid technology, which use IT and communication modules, including control system and automation, which enable new technologies to function together, provide support to an electricity grid. The electricity grid can then respond digitally to rapidly changing electricity demand patterns. Central to smart grid system, it's a capability for various technologies to be deployed in one part of the power system and communicate with elements in various sectors and geographies, and can be used by various stakeholders all throughout the electricity value chain. The smart grid market of the UAE, since we have a growth rate of 2.5%, it's basically because the electricity power consumption is increasing rapidly, and the present electrical grid would soon prove inadequate to support the huge network of power consumption. Besides this, the Vision 2030 of the country aims at making the country cleaner, more sustainable, and well connected. Having an intelligent grid that can cut losses and manage complex load is therefore a big part of the solution. Various steps are already being taken in that. For example, over 1 million slated smart meter installations have taken place across Dubai from 2016. The smart meter market is set to see a significant rise soon due to increasing government support and investment. Smart grid systems and components must be secured from harm, tempering theft, vandalism, and sabotage. Examples of physical layer security include installation of fence, video surveillance, and alert system. Now let's move on to our pestle analysis. Political. So we all know UAE has always been open towards advancement in technology. So since UAE have a stable political condition, our plan is likely to be approved. Economical analyze. UAE has the highest take-home pay. The country has a successful project running primarily on solar energy and other renewable energy. Social analysis. Our smart technologies growing and appeal among individuals of all age means a bigger target demographic. Our technological analysis. As a result of escalating consumer expectation and competitors' ambition to enter the smart appliance industry, product innovation has increased. Consumers are becoming more interested in adding smart products to their collections. legal, the UAE has several regulations in place for smooth and fair conducting of business. Our environmental shows that since the world becomes more globalized, there's a greater demand for companies to be socially responsible. The release of brine into the sea during the usual desalination process increased the sea temperature around the outlet. The wastewater can also contain the remain of maritime life killed during the desalination process. The proposed idea will attempt to resolve this problem since water and sustainability, waste and sustainability are becoming more of a concern. Moving on to how much we're saving by implementing smart water grid. From the sources census 2012A, we are estimating that $7.1 to $12.5 billion can be saved globally by utilizing through implementing smart water technology solution. So this described that savings would result in improved network assessment, planning, and monitoring. It's not surprising because improvement in monitoring will increase the knowledge of the state of water distribution system. Timely monitoring will help to reduce the amount of water lost and prevent impending failures. A large amount of savings can result from leak detection associated with pressure management, leak detection, protection, repairs, and chemicals needed to treat water. So as you can see, we're saving around 7.4%. Moving on to our revenue. Since our main key driver for market growth is rising demand for water owing to increasing global population, and we are also assuming that we'll have a growth rate of 2.5% between 2020 to 2025, we are expecting a market revenue or valued at $825 billion between the year 2020 to 2035. Next. Financial analysis. Standardization has led to the introduction of smart grid and data analytics thanks to the rise of the Internet of Things and big data analytics. The smart grid is an important part of the DEWA plan to build sophisticated infrastructure for smart Dubai, which aims to make Dubai the world's smartest and happiest city. According to the source, the CEO of DEWA has said the smart grid compromise program with investment of up to $87 billion that will be completed in the short, medium, and long term until 2035. Also, you can see our cost, if you're investing around $87 billion, our cost will be divided with 60% expense and production cost and 5% maintenance and upgradation, 10% labor cost, 15% to administration cost. 60% for expense and production cost is mainly because it includes raw material expenses, which is quite high, and also our installation cost is also going to be very expensive. Next, to conclude, since cybersecurity is a huge threat in utility, it will be our #1 priority. The smart grid is the next generation of power grids and include various new technology to change the way electricity is being used. It distributes power evenly and creates greener energy with the goal of maximizing efficiency and stability. Thank you for listening. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Team Rebecca. I would just like to inform the judges that the last 2 slides, that is assuming of cost and the conclusion, went over time of the 10 minutes limit given to them. Moving forward, can I just check to have the 2 participants from MIT University Dubai, if they might have joined in late, Ms. Farah Thakur or Fariel Thakur, if they've joined in with a different name, to just raise your hand. We can give you a minute. Fariel Thakur or Farah Thakur from MIT University Dubai. I assume they have not joined in, so we move forward. Great work to the teams and all the individual participants who joined us today. Awesome. So this brings us to the end of the grand finale presentations. That was closely contested indeed. With respect to the Friday prayers, we will take a quick break for the judges to calculate their scores, and we will return to announce the winners in about 15 minutes time. That would be at 11:45 a.m. So stay tuned. Hello, everyone. We took about 5 minutes more, but that's absolutely all right. We welcome back everyone. And I'm sorry. Sorry about that. Okay, so welcome back, everyone. We have the winners list with us. But before we proceed, I would like to thank our sponsors once again, the Dubai Electricity and Water Authority and Transnational Academic Group. The competition and day of learning would have not been possible without your support. We would now like to invite Mr. Daniel Atkins, CEO of Transnational Academic Group, and the head of judging panel today to announce the winners. May I please request the IT team before that to change the slide view, please? It is on a different view. So before we move forward. Sorry about that. Any moment now. Okay, I think we have the right view. Over to you, Mr. Dan.
Okay, thank you so much, Fatima. So we're actually going to start with Associate Professor Anna announcing 3 special categories, and then we will go to announcing the top 3 teams. So Professor Anna, over to you.
Thank you so much, Dan. Guys, it will be my pleasure to announce. The competition was fierce. We are having the order on the podium, but we wanted to emphasize that some of you did a special thing in particular categories. So let's go to announcing these categories. So for the category that will be, can we change the slides, please? As you can see, we have selected 3 categories we would like to highlight here. As the most creative solution, we would like to appreciate the efforts of the Leopards from the American University of Sharjah. Guys, you did a great job with your proposal. We've been impressed by that one. And despite the fact that that solution already exists, which you might not know, we wanted to appreciate your efforts because that was really an eye-opening proposal in comparison to the remaining teams. As per the best pestle, I could not do it, not being the Dean of Teaching and Learning. We wanted to appreciate as well the academic effort of your presentation. So the best pestle award goes, and the drum roll please, for the Blue Leopard. So it seems that the American University of Sharjah is taking these awards one by one, even though that they have been split between the 2 teams. And then last, but of course not the least, especially that it is only the sole participant. So a special award for you for in our thought process for the best financial analysis and the money saving solution for the team UD. Great job, guys. We are very proud of you announcing these special awards. And then over back to you for announcing the podium.
Thank you, Anna. I appreciate it. So the judges looked through and analyzed the creativity of the ideas, pestle, the financial analysis, the feasibility, tried to take a very holistic view. And we also went and did some comparison with the marks that came in from the first case study that you submitted. And when we combined the scores, we came out with the same top 3. So whether we were looking just at today or we were looking at the total effort put in by each of the university teams, we came out with exactly the same order for the top three. So as we announce the winners, you can give yourself a hearty congratulations because it reflects both your performance now and throughout this competition. So coming in third place, can we advance? We have the Leopards from the American University of Sharjah. Congratulations, you did a great job. And as Professor Anna said, came up with the most creative of the solutions. In second place, so the first runner-up, we have, slide, Team UD from the University of Dubai. And again, we want to recognize that this was one person, which is truly exceptional. And then coming in as the grand champion of this competition, it's the Blue Leopards of American University of Sharjah. Congratulations, you did an absolutely fantastic job. So with that, back over to you, Ms. Fatima.
Thank you, Dan. I will just excuse us for the little bit of glitches we had today. But thank you, Dr. Anna. Thank you, Daniel, for your time today. Thank you, Sally. And I hope all of you enjoyed the event as much as we have. Congratulations to all the winners and special mentions as well. You all have done a great job. And thank you everyone to take part, and we recognize your hard work, and you will be receiving a certificate of participation for everybody who was present today. And of course, the winners will have special prizes. But it certainly doesn't end here. We encourage you to keep in touch with the Business Cup Challenge crew and tune in for more updates on next year's challenge, which will be held in person. Theme for next year will be announced soon. So until then, have a great day and happy Friday. Bye-bye.